Hello and welcome to another edition of Morning Hoops Basketball Podcast. I'm Anthony Denu. You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu. He is Kyle McKeown. You can find him on Twitter at RotoKyleNBA. Kyle, we got another watch-along special tonight. Who do we got?
We're going to watch the Miami Heat play at the Boston Celtics. It's going to be a fun game. Goran Dragic's out for the Miami Heat. We've also got Gordon Hayward, of course, still out for the Boston Celtics. And they'll also be missing Marcus Smart, who's out due to an illness. Marcus Smart's also dealing with an oblique injury, but before the game, Coach Brad Stevens said that the oblique injury that Marcus Smart is dealing with is not expected to keep him out for the long term. So hopefully we'll get Marcus Smart back once he's done getting over this illness. Starting in place of Marcus Smart, the Celtics are going to shift Jason Tatum down to small forward, and Grant Williams is starting at power forward to help match up against the Miami Heat's a little bit bigger front court. So that's fun to see Grant Williams getting in there and getting a spot start at least.
Something you've discussed a number of times on the show is that front court rotation, really the center rotation for the Celtics. Do you have a preferred body?
I think Daniel Tice is the most obvious, best, or most
top 10
consistent
defender right now, I believe.
Wow.
In terms of last I checked,
now that's impressive
top
because
10 in terms of, I think it was net rating, if I'm not mistaken.
That's awesome. Well, he's the most consistent option for them there. He's not gonna try to do too much most of the time. He's gonna do his best to play, match whatever assignment he has from game to game. He's got the versatility to be able to step out on the perimeter a little bit or match up with some of the more mobile centers like a Bam Adebayo in this game. So, or to stretch out with a guy like Myers Leonard as well. So yeah, it's Daniel Tice's versatility. And then the fact that he can offer a little bit of rim protection and a little bit of offense. He's not going to be as good offensively as a guy like Enes Kanter, and he's not going to be probably as good defensively or have as high of a ceiling defensively, especially in the statistical department, as a guy like Robert Williams, the Rock DJ. But Daniel Tice is more consistent on both sides, and that's why he's the guy starting at center for the Celtics most nights this season. And if you had watched him, whether that was playing overseas before he came to the NBA or even playing last year, you could see how just confident he is out there on the court and how well he fits with almost any combination of players. So it's not necessarily surprising to see, even though the Celtics went out and signed Enes Kanter, that they're using him in a more limited bench role. And that also speaks back to the fact that if you go back the last couple seasons and see the way that Brad Stevens used other centers similar to Enes Kanter, who were just kind of not necessarily defensive minded, but guys who could go get a bucket whenever they needed to and could maybe rebound well, a guy like Greg Monroe, they never had big roles under a Brad Stevens team, because that's just, you don't necessarily need that offense running through your center on his teams.
Adebayo with a nice little up and under from the baseline. He's just looking more and more smooth, man. He gets better and better every game, it seems. Last night, a solid night from a statistical standpoint. As we said, the Heat are on a back-to-back. They played in overtime, the first team to win in Toronto all season. And we know what a tough place Toronto has been to play the last 2 years and even before that. But so the Heat coming off a big one. Butler misses a three here. We talked about Tice and his importance. He's 27 out of, hopefully I'm saying this right, Salzgitter, Germany. Ton of German players right now in the league. I know we lost Dirk, but you still got a good, at least 4 or 5 other solid German players. But you talked about Tice in the front court and being the man at center for the Celtics. How important is that for, after losing Horford to the Sixers?
It's extremely important. I think that obviously the Celtics are still looking for something else, more long-term for their starting center spot, whether that's going to end up being Robert Williams developing into a great defensive starting center for them. And then also someone who I think an understated part of Robert Williams' game is the fact that he's a pretty good passer. So, even if he maybe isn't someone who can score for you, the fact that he might be able to do a little bit of more distributing. I don't think that he's ever going to be a ball handler in the way that a Draymond Green is a defensive force and then also a distributor. But Robert Williams can make the occasional surprising pass where you sit there and you go, okay, at least he's got some vision and he's seeing the game in an inventive and fun way. Grant Williams is an undersized guy, but he might be the most reminiscent of Al Horford in the long term. So that's someone to watch as we go through this season. If Daniel Tice were to miss more time and the Celtics weren't happy with their other options, Grant Williams is someone who could provide another consistent source for them at the center spot, similar to what Daniel Tice is, even though he's much smaller than Tice.
On the Heat side of things, you got a couple rookies that have been the big story. Tyler Hero has been talked about plenty even since his high school days and where he'd end up going to college. Of course, ends up at Kentucky, being phenomenal there for a year. And now he's on the Heat, but he's been a big story. But Kendrick Nunn has kind of been the bigger rookie story. They're both top 10 in scoring for rookies, both around the 15-point margin. I think coming into last night, Kendrick Nunn was close to 17, 18 points a game, but he's kind of been the story. I mean, even though Hero has been the more highly touted prospect, college player, everything really.
Yeah, with this Heat starting lineup, we've seen Duncan Robinson stick in there, even with Justice Winslow getting back and healthy. And Winslow's coming off the bench and still playing a really big role. But that wasn't the plan to have Duncan Robinson in the starting lineup to open the season. It was the plan coming out of preseason for Kendrick Nunn to be in that starting lineup with Justice Winslow if Winslow wouldn't have had the concussion that kept him out for so long. Now we're just seeing that because of this current iteration of the starting lineup with Duncan Robinson, and it has played so well, gotten so many wins to open the season, Coach Spoelstra's decided, he's sticking with it. He's not going to turn away from these guys, and there's no reason to do that when you have a player like Justice Winslow, who's always got the team kind of at the forefront of his mind. He's not going to necessarily throw up a big stink about having to come off the bench, especially if he knows he's still going to get a lot of run. But yeah, and Kendrick Nunn is really fun player in regards to how he came into his role. The fact that he was playing in the G League last year, he was, and then he comes in and as an undrafted rookie, and he is able to show with his defense and his consistent shooting and the a little bit of playmaking that he can add on there as well. Just his ability to be an all-around player there at guard and be a consistent guy, not someone who's severely waffling from night to night, or because his shot's not falling, he's giving up on defense at times, like a guy like Dion Waiters. So, and that's one of the reasons why Dion Waiters ended up having his edible issue, is because of the emotional distress of dealing with the fact that he got his job stolen by an undrafted rookie.
Is that in fact related?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because Dion Waiters was already suspended for one game for like conduct detrimental to the team. And then this whole incident happens with him eating the edible on the team plane. And it's just like, and then he even tried to blame somebody else for giving him the edible and all this crap. And it's just like, dude, handle your stuff, man. I don't know. It's just hilarious.
Unreal. We're at commercial right now. Let's talk about these coaches. These are two now, experienced coaches that we've got between Spoelstra and Stevens, but still some of known as like the bright young minds of the game, which is funny. We've seen Spoelstra for 10 years now, and Brad Stevens still for plenty as well. But do you have a preferred candidate of the two? I view Spoelstra as like the best coach in the NBA in many regards.
Spoelstra walked into a kind of a gift horse situation when Dwayne Wade and I believe he ended up he got Shaq, right? Or did Shaq got Stan Van Gundy kicked out of Miami, right? Is that what happened? Or was it before they got Shaq?
No, he was like Spoelstra got the job, and then they got
they got Shaq
Chris
that
Bosh.
off. Yeah.
No, it's not Shaq. Shaq was previous with.
Oh, well, that was with Pat. Yeah, sorry. That's ridiculous. Yeah, that was with Pat. So you're right. That was Spoelstra took over when it was still just before they ended up getting the big three. How long ago? How long was that before that? Was that? I mean, that's amazing that Spoelstra kept the job when LeBron and Chris Bosh came in.
Pat Riley breathing down his neck the whole time. I thought that Spoelstra wouldn't last more than a few months. I didn't think he'd last the off season. And I mean, look at this, 10 years later, and he's still the man. And while people can say, well, it's easy to coach when you have 3 superstars, there wasn't really that much beyond those 3 superstars. But aside from that, which I'm not going to,
you can't fail though. There's no.
Exactly. Yes. There's more pressure on him than anybody. And he didn't squander it at all. They went to 4 straight NBA finals and were a few games from going 4-0. I mean, I guess the Mavericks, different story, but I mean, they made it to the finals 4 straight times.
Yep.
What more can you ask for? They won 2, and Spoelstra has been a good coach since. Some of the teams that he's got into the playoffs since LeBron went back to Cleveland, it's pretty remarkable, I'd say. A couple of those teams, I couldn't believe that he was able to get them in. I know they, the way Dwayne Wade's slowed down in the last few years before retiring at the end of last season. I think Spoelstra really is one of the best coaches, especially some of the things we see Popovich doing this year, which might be another instance of tough love. But Spoelstra to me is right up there with the best of them, if not at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that you're going to discount him because he had good players. He was able to get the job done, to bring in guys in a unique situation, even though it was a heavy-handed one, having 3 stars like that.
Hey, getting Bosh to stay too, that's a pretty big deal. I know it didn't work out with the blood clots and everything, but also, I mean, getting him to stay and Wade to stay after LeBron had ditched. I know Wade did eventually move around a little bit, but still just an impeccable job, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot to say about Eric Spoelstra. I think he's proven. I don't think that there's many people out there who would say that he doesn't deserve the job that he's kept over the years, because we've seen him coach not just superstar teams, but also teams that are lacking. And even when he's had those teams who have struggled with injuries or didn't have a lot of talent, or especially the same depth of talent that he had previously, they've always at least competed and been close to getting into the playoffs too. They've never been a team where you didn't go into the night thinking, oh, the Heat are an easy win. You've never thought that, like even after LeBron left.
So right now Miami's up 5, 16-11 over the Celtics. Celtics playing at home in Boston. One of the fun matchups we get to see here is Butler and versus Jason Tatum. So that's always fun. But it looks like but it's going to be Jaylen Brown on him right here. I wanted to ask you.
It's a Kelly Olynyk revenge game as well.
There you go. All sorts of revenge games. I mean, at this point, everyone's played for a few teams, so every night seems to be something along those lines. So who do you think finishes with the higher seed here in the East between these two teams? When it's all said and done, 82 games played, who's going to be the higher seed? Right now, the Heat have the advantage, but not by all that much.
It's going to come down to who's healthier, but ultimately, I think the Celtics are deeper. So I would lean towards the Celtics finishing with the higher seed. Plus, Jimmy Butler always misses about 20 games. So if he misses 20 games, that's probably another 10 losses that we can put on the Heat.
I think the Heat are, looking at their roster, without a doubt the less deep team of the two, but I also think that they could be a candidate to make a move or have a buyout contract. That's a destination of all destinations. You've got a superstar there who could maybe use a little bit of help, but they're already one of the top teams in the East. You're playing in Miami under a very good coach. I mean, there's a lot of things that are very enticing about coming to Miami.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As someone living in the cold winter of Wisconsin right now, I mean, I want to take my talents to South Beach, but there's a lot of good things in Boston too. They've got crab cakes.
That's right. All sorts of good stuff. Jimmy Butler knocks down the 3. So last night the Heat were in overtime against the Raptors, 108-108, and Jimmy Butler went on an 8-0 run by himself, really to put the game out of reach. He outscored the Raptors 8-2 in the overtime frame, and the Heat got another couple buckets there, so they won handily in overtime. But still, back-to-back, traveling, going to two of the toughest places to play. I don't think that Boston has a home loss yet this year, playing at home. Let me check on that. Celtics 7-0 at home. So all 5 of their losses have come on the road. So this is a chance for the Heat to go back-to-back nights, getting the first win in each of these buildings. And get this, Kyle, the Heat have the only win against Milwaukee in Milwaukee. That was an overtime game, the second game of the year. So this would be the third time that they've made a team not so undefeated at home.
Out of the top 5 teams in the East right now, only 2 of them have home losses. The Bucks have 1, and the Raptors have 1.
And until last
and
night,
both given to them by the Heat.
Yep.
So maybe we should be giving the Heat more due in regards to where we should be expecting they'll finish the season. But again, I just think that they'll have some injury issues. Maybe we're discounting the impact of Bam Adebayo more than we should be. Maybe him as the starting center is just that key of a thing. And then having someone, it's just tough. You can't really count on Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, or Kendrick Nunn to be consistent this season. And I think that's the issue for me, is the fact too that even a guy like Justice Winslow, who is considered one of the probably top 3 core pieces for this team, if you're not looking at Hero and you're just looking at Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, and Justice Winslow, like Winslow is not a consistent offensive player. He just completely bricked a 3-point attempt here in this game. So. And that's not to say that doesn't happen. Everybody whiffs every once in a while, but I think everybody knows about Winslow's struggles to be consistent on the offensive side of the court.
All right, let's say that Butler does miss his 15 to 20 games. You would think, you're missing a superstar that's going to hurt you pretty bad. Once again, injuries are never positive. However, with Jesus, thanks to Nami Sa for some interesting comments. But if Butler were to go down, you still wouldn't hurt them all that much because you're in the Eastern Conference, and you would be able to maybe hold above water and really stay in the play, in the top 8 throughout that entire time. Plus, Tyler Hero might get more time to develop with Nunn and Adebayo being the main go-to guy. So I'm not saying you'd benefit all that much from it, but there would be some positives to getting some guys being like the lead dogs.
Yeah, you can definitely look at the bright side of things in those regards, but I would also caution against there being like, I think it's so important to build consistency with your guys, to build familiarity, cohesion. So that I think it's important that when you have your guys healthy and that you're playing them in meaningful games during the regular season when you can find them, so that you can see how things might break down, so that who's going to be the go-to guy in certain situations, so that people come to understand what the pecking order is exactly in different again situations. So I don't want to look too much on the rosy side of a superstar missing time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
What happened? You watching this baby stuff?
There's just a lot going on in our comment section that I'm not sure I want to discuss, but it's worth a laugh regardless.
Well, go on YouTube and get into the chat box and let us know what you think about the Heat at Celtics game right now, if you're watching along with us, and also just let us know what you do or disagree or agree with in regards to our opinions on the stuff.
Yeah, the goal is to be an interactive show. We want to know what you guys think, and we want you guys to join along. Of course, like and subscribe. Any feedback is helpful. So whatever you can do to help us out, we really appreciate it. And looks like we're back here. I will tell you guys, you can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu.
And if you know anybody who works for the NBA and they want alternative feeds for their content, tell them to shout a holler. We'll do our best to prove proof of concept here in regards to offering different voices into the NBA sphere. People that are part of the NBA Twitter, meme house, memery. So, yeah. All right.
So Kemba's got 8 points. He's hit 2 3-pointers so far. Kyle, we got 11 games going on tonight?
10 games.
10 games.
Look at you with your bad counting.
Yes, I don't count so good. It's because I have 11 fingers.
Oh, wow. I don't know if that's a joke or not. And if you're showing me something video-wise, pal, I mean, some people are listening to this in podcast form. So maybe try not to do visual gags.
No visual gags here.
So you don't actually have 11 fingers?
No, I don't.
So you just lied to everybody?
Everyone who's listening.
Wow. Guess we know what to expect from you going forward.
Right.
What else we got statistics-wise? Looks like Jimmy Butler's leading the way with 9, and then behind him you also have 6 from Bam Adebayo, 5 from Duncan Robinson, Tim Duncan David Robinson. I really wish that was his full name. Your boy Kendrick Nunn is 1 of 1 from the field in his 6 minutes, 3 points. There's not, looking at a box score after the first quarter, or not even at the end of the first quarter yet, it's not the most exciting thing in the world.
Not yet. And the Heat, you have a hangover for many reasons. The big win on the road last night in an overtime game. Butler, they just showed his numbers from last night, a triple-double. I think it's the 5th of his career.
And first of the season, though, with the Heat. So it's nice to see him crack that bottle open.
And he didn't have any with the Timberwolves or the Sixers. They all came with the Bulls prior to last night.
You said a hangover for the Heat, but they're up, 6 points right now. So it's not necessarily a much of a hangover for them. They're still fighting, even though.
Yeah. They've played well. They've got the lead, but it just hasn't been the most exciting of games so far. We'll see. They could light it up this last minute here as Jimmy Butler steals the pass. You got Winslow in transition, goes up with the left hand. Ooh, no good, but Jimmy puts it in for him on the putback dunk. Oh my God.
Excitement.
So the Heat are up 28-20. Other stuff in the NBA, you got the Bucks up 46-37 right now over the Pistons in Detroit.
You gonna keep going with those scores? I liked that idea.
That was the one that I have. I got dual screen right now, so I kind of peek at the Bucks.
Okay.
But I can go through some of the games that we got going on right now.
Okay.
So as we said, we're doing the watch along. We got the Heat playing in Boston. And just to update you guys on some of the other things going on in the league right now, the Warriors and Hornets. Hornets up by 6, 50-44. That one has just a couple minutes left in the first half. Told you guys about the Bucks. At halftime, the Magic are up 65-58 over the Suns. Magic are the home team in that one. The Nets and the Hawks. Nets down by 4, 24-20. Just at the end of the first quarter here, about 30 seconds left. Pacers and Thunder still coming up. You got Grizzlies and Bulls still coming up. Timberwolves and Mavs still coming up. That's right, people. Mavs, Luka versus Karl Anthony Towns. Could be a very fun game. Lakers and Jazz. Lakers coming off I think they played last night against the Nuggets. Is that right? Or was that Monday?
I believe it was last night.
Okay. And rounding out the night, the Kings and the Blazers. Some West Coast action for you guys.
Nice.
So a few games active right now. Nothing in the second half quite yet. So still early in a pretty big NBA Wednesday.
Yep. Frank Kaminsky's got 21 points going into the half for the Phoenix Suns against the Orlando Magic. Giannis Antetokounmpo has 18 points with another 4 minutes left in the second quarter. So those are the two of the bigger scoring scoring performances to open the night already. Devontae Graham's got 11 points and 5 assists in 14 minutes, with another 2 minutes until halftime for that game. So some nice starts for those guys as we get this 10-game night kind of moving along here.
A number of college basketball games going on tonight too. You got Badgers playing NC State. Marquette has a game. A lot of stuff going on.
Yep. For the Sacramento game later tonight, Sacramento at Portland, Bogdan Bogdanovic with his hamstring issue, he will be out. And they're now calling it looks like they're calling it a hamstring tightness and a right knee contusion that Bogdan Bogdanovic is dealing with. So, oh man, it seems like multiple things will kind of keep him out of play. Hopefully it's only for this one game, and then Bogdan will be able to come back. But he'd been struggling with the hamstring issue of late, and they were even limiting Bogdan Bogdanovic's minutes in the previous game. So maybe it's best if he sits out for a little bit and gets healthy before coming back. I'm excited that Kristaps Porzingis is playing in his first back-to-back here on Wednesday night against the Timberwolves. A lot of people were throwing shade at Kristaps for his game last night with his poor shooting, but he still had like 4 or 5 blocks in just 17 minutes. So I don't really know why he got so much flack for getting into foul trouble. They still beat the crap out of their opponent last night. The Dallas Mavericks did. So hopefully Kristaps can play his usual kind of minutes in this back-to-back, and going forward, we won't have to worry about him sitting out for any kind of load management baloney that people were worried about coming into the season. There were some reports out there before the season opened that Kristaps was going to maybe miss up to 15 games due to load management, which is, Kawhi level almost type craziness. So it's good that even though Kristaps only played 17, 18 minutes in Tuesday's game, the fact that he's already being allowed to play on the second night of a back-to-back, I think is a very good sign. I'm also just a Kristaps stan, so.
I'm a big fan of Kristaps. He is a unicorn. He's so much fun. There's never been anything like him, and I'm rooting for him to have a long, healthy career. And I hope that him and Luka end up being a really one of those duos that you talk about forever,
Yep, absolutely. And then there's a lot of reasons to make excuses for Kristaps' slow start with him being out of action for 18 months. So I just think people need to be kind of patient with him. He's still a guy who was an all-star in his second year in the league. And then he was, there's a good chance he would have been an all-star again that next season if he hadn't gotten injured. So if we just give him a little bit of time, we'll probably start to see him show out more and more. But it's also difficult when you're playing in the shadow of Luka. So credit Kristaps for kind of just filling into his role and playing more of a lower usage role so far, understanding that he's not necessarily in the same kind of game readiness mindset or health or physical preparation that Luka was able to get in as not being someone who was coming back from an injury.
We talked a little bit about Brad Stevens earlier, and there was some fun lip reading with him over the last couple days, and he appeared to say during a challenge the other night, "I'm so effing done with these challenges." I'm guessing you've been in agreement almost since the first night, I feel, in terms of the issues we've had with challenges.
It's just it's not a cure-all, so it's just like an extra little feature in the game. It's the fact that the coaches lose their challenge even if they get it right. So if they use a challenge early in the game, they're sitting there and they're going like, well,
it's one and done.
Yeah, I can make up 2 points, a 2-point deficit in the first quarter, but if it's a 2-point deficit that I could get extinguished with a challenge with half a second left in the game, like that's way more important. That's way more valuable. So you just have to weigh whether or not to hold on to your challenge. And a lot of coaches are going to sometimes pass up opportunities though earlier in the game where they could have gotten back either some points or gotten back a player's fouls. Like if somebody gets into early foul trouble, like we saw in the last Orlando Magic game, Jonathan Isaac, who's constantly going for blocks, is going to often get into foul trouble early. And so if you can protect that player, who's a big part of your defensive side schemes, then you can use that challenge in a good way. But regardless of all that, we know that the NBA is worried about their ratings and viewership and all of these things, which, by the way, I think a lot of that is just it's
people
just
are
because
streaming.
Yes, people aren't watching on cable because cable's a
they're
terrible
watching
product.
the NBA. Exactly. Yeah. People are watching the NBA. They're
Yeah.
doing it in different ways. They're doing it through Twitter. They're doing it through streaming. Yeah. They're not going to pay the $40 a month or whatever it is for a league pass in a lot of cases. I mean, there's all sorts of other ways to watch the NBA, and people just aren't experiencing it the way that the NBA wants people to. And they are ahead of these things in most cases, as we said, in United States sports. But this one still needs some work, as does the challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. And, maybe as we've seen newspapers and different media companies change their way that they generate income, whether that's through subscribers or doing different Patreon systems and stuff where you actually have people who are helping support your system. Like there's other ways to make money. That's the reason why bands sell merchandise and go on tour. It's because you can't just rely on the radio or the TV to get your product out there. You've got to actually go out there and promote it, and you have to engage people where they are. And unfortunately, a lot of people we're not sitting at home with cable subscriptions. We all want to stream stuff because we're all using smart TVs. So it doesn't make sense to have a cable subscription in the modern day. And they haven't found out how to monetize that, because so much of the cable stuff was like a monopoly in regards to the ad revenue or the ad buys and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a different paradigm, and they haven't found out how to get their ad money. And that's what they're really mad about.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way on this one. There's just so many issues, and you made a great point. Like with music, people are just gonna find music and stream it. It's really the same thing. So bands had to instead of $20 t-shirts, it went up to 30 or more, and instead of a $30 concert ticket, it's probably 50 or more. I mean, this is how you make up for things. And I don't want to go to NBA, like a bunch of expensive NBA games or tickets to be more expensive, but that is how it works. Like a jersey is going to be more expensive but just make the games available to all of us. So that way we actually want the jersey and all these other things.
Maybe do a Spotify thing. You have people subscribe to the NBA app. If they are watching through the NBA app, they get access to any game that's on.
Yep.
Stuff like that. And it's a $10 subscription fee, just like Spotify, something that people can forget about and just be like, it's part of my,
worth it. Yep. It's just worth it. And it's in my budget, and that's how it goes.
Yep. And they may not even use it all the time. So who cares about your ratings as much as whether or not you've got those subscribers. So find different ways to monetize and put on your big boy pants.
Figure it out, NBA. We believe in you. We believe in you.
Yeah, get a job. All right, why don't we check back in on this Miami Heat Boston Celtics game? We kind of got off the rails there.
That's all right. That's how it goes with the watch along. We enjoy our conversations, letting it fly a little bit. But as Kyle said, we're doing a watch along with the Heat and the Celtics. We are in the second quarter right now. This is one of 5 games going on right now, and five more still to come.
There are 6 games going on right now, brother. 7.
All right.
Oh wow, 7 of them.
You know what? I forget that I'm so much, or it's later than I'm used to being out here.
Nobody cares what time it is where you are.
Does anybody really know?
You do, I would hope. But
this is Chicago.
All right, so the Heat are up 35-24 right now. We've got 8 minutes left in the second quarter. Jimmy Butler still holding down the top scoring spot with 11 points in this game, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 3-pointer, 5 of 7 from the field in his 12 minutes. Bam Adebayo's got 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 of 4 from the field. Nobody else really doing anything of big market interest on the Heat side of things from the Celtics. Got Kemba Walker leading the way with his 8 points in 9 minutes. That's about it, man. Grant Williams, who started the game at power forward, he got into a little bit of foul trouble. He's played just 6 minutes, 2 personal fouls in that time. Yeah, not too much going on in the box score here, to be completely honest, so far.
Tatum looks good. So, all right, do you have Tatum expectations? This is just a really weird thing with the Celtics, because you put together all these good young pieces, and similar to the Knicks, this offseason, you whiffed on everybody or couldn't complete the Anthony Davis trade last year. But at least, unlike the Knicks, you're left with a lot of good young talent. Is this the way the team is going to continue to forge on, or is there still a with like the Tatum, Jaylen Brown, these pieces? Are they going to pick one? Are they going to hold on to both and just figure it out?
Well, they signed Jaylen Brown to an extension this offseason, or during the preseason, so they're committed to him. And then with Jason Tatum, he might still be part of something they packaged together in a trade, but for the most part, I think they're looking at their team and they're saying, we're going to see how things go this year, especially in regards to Gordon Hayward. And then they'll make a decision at the end of the season whether or not to try to retain him on a new contract or to let Hayward walk away. And then maybe they can use some of the money that they have to go out and find maybe a better center. Or then again, like I said earlier, maybe that's something that we see develop over the course of the season. A guy like Rock DJ, Robbie Williams, really kind of show out and prove that he's going to be the guy for them next season, even if it's not this season.
I think they hold on to both. I've kind of felt that was the way to go, that if they're going to bring in someone else, then it should be just signing somebody and not giving up either one of the two. I mean, these two can be just incredible as Tatum gets the follow.
It just depends on who becomes available. Like if a dumb team like the Knicks decides they're going to trade away an all-star like Kristaps Porzingis for a player who might become that someday, then yeah, I'd be willing to trade a Jason Tatum. I know there's a lot of people out there who probably look at Jason Tatum and go, he's a no doubt all-star. He's gonna he's got the potential to be an MVP candidate, and that may be true at his highest ceiling. But in general, I look at Jason Tatum and he might be Paul George, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be like who's a step down from Paul George?
Jimmy Butler,
a healthy Danny Granger.
A healthy Danny Granger. That's okay. All right.
Because Danny Granger was good on defense, but he wasn't Paul George or Jimmy Butler good on defense.
And you think, what about a Brandon Roy?
No way. Just because I don't see a similar game. You think they have similar games?
No, I don't. I'm just trying to put together other people in that tier of I don't know, players we've seen the last 10, 15 years that are solid wing players.
I mean, right now, I think Jason Tatum,
like superstar wing players that aren't full-blown MVPs, I guess.
I mean, one of his comps in regards to his peers right now is he's like Zach LaVine. He's just a scorer who can do a little bit of other stuff sometimes, but not consistently. And he's bigger.
Yeah, I believe in Jason Tatum. I think sky's the limit. I really think that he can be. I said it on the show before, said it here on this podcast, that I think he is a future superstar.
I guess I don't buy that he's going to be more than maybe I think he might peak out at 1 or 2 all-stars. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing in any regard. That's
right.
That can be really good.
He's Paul Pierce, dude. There you go. It's that easy. He's Paul Pierce.
No way, dude. Don't even go there. He's not Paul Pierce.
How do you feel about Paul Pierce as a talking head? He gets a lot of flack from Bucks fans like myself, but outside of that, do you have? Are you able to, not being necessarily a homegrown Bucks fan, are you able to put some of that stuff aside?
It's it doesn't really matter what I think in some respects. Like if you are a basketball diehard and you're in there looking at everything to an exhaustive degree, and then you watch some of these old school players get in there and they talk about stuff like, I have nostalgic love for Chauncey Billups. I don't necessarily like him as a commentator. And a lot of the things that he said over the years, his desire to be a GM, and then he goes out and he becomes a media guy. And then when he's sharing his opinion on a lot of players, I'm sitting there kind of like looking out of the corner of my eye, like giving him side eye, being like, oh my gosh, can you imagine if this dude was trying to build a roster? And these were the thoughts that he was having that were leading to decisions on what he was going to bring in. It seemed contrary to what I would think would be a winning basketball decision in today's NBA. So, I have issues with Paul Pierce, but their jobs are to be nostalgic guys who have their own unique perspective of the game, and I love getting that stuff. I love those. I used to sit and just watch a lot of the old school roundtables that they would have with all the players telling different stories from different times, and they'd have Ernie Johnson on there with them, and they would be doing these like the best 10 from certain decades and whatnot, and it was awesome to hear those guys argue about different stuff and then share their anecdotes about their time in the league. Like I think some people have expectations for these players, and they expect them to like constantly be watching the games and know all the guys on the back end of the roster, and it's just like, no, at this point, that's not why they're on TV, to offer their perspective. They're to be a something positive that is a throwback to people who have been long-term fans of the NBA.
For their like they're for entertainment, not necessarily for knowledge, except for the firsthand experience, which is invaluable, and you can't get that from anything but a former player.
So that's one of those instances where it's like you gotta sometimes realize, like, not to necessarily hate so much and try to just appreciate things for what they are and not for what they aren't. I mean, and trust me, I don't. I have a lot of haterade that I drink too, especially when it comes to Carmelo. Somebody was kind of calling me out about how negative I've been about Carmelo of late. So, but that's not gonna stop.
I didn't think that would deter you whatsoever.
I've been trying to pitch you, Anthony, on a Carmelo Anthony Award to hand out every night here on the podcast.
I just don't know how he wouldn't win it even when he's not playing, just based on the merits that do come along with the award, that I'm still a little weary and unsure of the details.
But that's the joke, Anthony. Every single night when we announce the award, it'll be given to Carmelo Anthony.
Coming up in the second half, folks, we got the Carmelo Anthony Award. He doesn't take the court until 7 p.m. West Coast time, but don't worry, he's going to win.
I love that he finally ran into a good team last night, and they just got their butts whooped, and he didn't have a good shooting game. And look, dude, if the guy plays well, that's fine. But like going on ESPN and telling people about your emotional problems, like we've got dudes like DeMar DeRozan going and speaking to people at local high schools to say like, hey, it's okay to share your bad feelings and to have people to talk to, or to talk to people who you love about those frustrating and depressing feelings that you have. Like, we've got players taking a stand for mental health. And then we've got Carmelo Anthony getting on ESPN with Rachel Nichols and doing this whole thing about how life's been so hard for him, being married to an MTV VJ and all this kind of crap, and, being a multimillionaire. And then, don't get me wrong, money doesn't buy happiness, but perspective, man, this guy has none when it comes, outside of himself. Self-reflection, it doesn't really seem like he has any. It's all about looking in and like being like, oh man, I'm the victim here. Nobody wants me to start on their team and help them lose games in the NBA.
This reminded me of something that happened last week where someone was giving Chandler Parsons a bunch of guff on Twitter. and he just responded and shut him down right away. And this got blown up, and it was pretty good because he just said, you would switch lives, no doubt, or something like that.
Yep.
And I mean, what is he on? He's on he signed a $80 million contract at
It was
one
4
point.
years,
I mean,
90. And
4
he
for
was
90.
He was injured. His knees were injured when he signed it, and he pretty much, has never been a meaningful role player, contributor for the Grizzlies. And now he's on the Hawks, and they still, to this day, 4 years after, or 3.5 years after he signed that contract, he's sitting on a team banking money, being day to day on whether or not he'll be able to play. So,
right.
But like Chandler Parsons said, one of the reasons why he became such a derided figure in the Memphis community is because while he was injured, he was out enjoying Memphis nightlife, and people saw him out just, being Chandler Parsons, handsome dude, tall guy, fit, right. Rich, like,
yeah,
he's covered in the clothing of beautiful women.
No, I totally understand. But when you talked about Carmelo in perspective, that's why the Chandler Parsons tweet came to my mind, because it seems like, well, he's got it at least a little bit. So, I mean, I know he's kind of crapping on a fan, so to speak, but it seemed
but that's the fan also having the
very much so. He brought his sword out first.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so it's now a 1-point game, 39-38, very low scoring, defensive battle so far. Butler driving baseline, throws a slip pass in to the paint, but didn't get to Adebayo. And then Jason Tatum has a run out. He's fouled from behind. Oh, no, they're going to say it was poked out, no foul. Nice play. I think that was Myers Leonard.
I like it when you do the little play-by-plays, brother. You're bringing out your old tool.
I miss doing play-by-play, man. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So we got 3:45 going back the other way, Celtics ball. It's been a close first half, but nothing too crazy. We'll see how things go. It's a game of runs, but I like that the game is close so far, because this is similar to how the game was last night when we got overtime between the Heat and Raptors.
Oh yeah, I mean, you'd much rather it be the 1-point game than the 8 or 12-point game that it was earlier.
Even if it is low scoring, and they could turn it on these last 3:45. So
yeah, we're both old enough to have lived through some of the more defensive-minded seasons of the NBA back when the Pistons and the Spurs and the Pacers were beating up on each other nightly. So I love games that end, with under 70 points scored total for each team.
Yeah, especially if it's a defensive battle and not just a bunch of jacked threes. So, I mean, so far, these teams are into it. And this game does matter. And I know you say it's game whatever for game number 20, 30 something, who cares? But it does matter. I mean, the Celtics especially, absolutely. You're defending your home court. You have yet to lose at home. It is a big deal.
Absolutely. And if those games at the end of the season, we always see a few teams at the back end of especially at the back end of the East, fighting over those final playoff spots. So these games are huge. Can't discount them at all. Plus, we need to build up that narrative for the NBA ratings. It's the biggest game of the year.
Kendrick Nunn, nice alley-oop to Bam Adebayo. Man, that's good chemistry. You like to see that early in the season. Kendrick Nunn, really, he's a lethal lefty, man.
Nice. That was a great play. I like hearing you also talk up the game too, because you're, for whatever reason, even though we're both watching it on the same feed on League Pass, you being in Portland and me being in Madison, I'm closer to this game. I should get the quicker feed, not you. It must be rerouted or like around the other side of the world to you.
Yeah, I think it goes through Canada.
Yep.
So we got Jaylen Brown at the free throw line, misses the first, and that would have tied it. He still gets another one, so we'll see if we can get all tied up at 41-41 with under 3 points to go. How did you feel about Jaylen Brown getting rid of the flat top?
I'm not a big fan of people cutting their hair at all. So
we know.
from that perspective, I don't like it. But also, flat tops are dope. But whatever Jalen has to do, sometimes people cut their hair because they look at it as an easy way to turn the page. Like if cut your hair, you can start afresh, start anew, and that makes sense because it is it grows out of your hair. It's part of your memory. So if you want to forget something in your past, just cut your hair off. You can also cut your finger off too and forget how to, use it. So, but that's up to people who like to cut their hairs.
Jason, yeah, I'm sorry, not Tatum. Jaylen Brown missed the second free throw, so he went 0 of 2. The Celtics do have a chance to take the lead, though, after Tatum had a nice block on the other end. Okay, better flat top, Norris Cole, former Heat player, or Jaylen Brown?
I think Jaylen Brown's was tighter. But that's
a
also
better player too.
Better player. It definitely helps. Yeah. That Jaylen Brown's kind of a cooler player to root for. Norris Cole became a little bit of a frustrating guy because it felt like he's stuck in the rotation too long on those Heat teams.
To this day, I think he's better than Mario Chalmers.
And that's fine. I'm not gonna sit here and stand up for Mario Chalmers. That's not why I was put on this earth.
Dude, let's have like 2011 NBA basketball arguments. Isn't that what NBA podcasts are about? The Heat would have won 4 championships. All they had to do was play Norris Cole instead of Chalmers.
You can just keep talking about that stuff. I think everybody will stop listening to the podcast though.
So the Celtics do end up taking the lead 42-41. And man, Bam Adebayo had the ball and Tyler Hero was running off a screen and just brought Kemba Walker right into Bam. And Walker's had a rough couple weeks here with running into players, including his own. Yeah. Semi Ojeleye had to be carted off, didn't he? Stretchered.
Anytime there's a hard pick like that or somebody runs into Adebayo, there really should be the cartoony Batman bam or something like that kind of goes across the screen.
I would like that. Some comic style NBA.
You got to find ways to make it more entertaining, man, and cartoonifying it might be the thing. Space Jam's the biggest NBA film ever.
Yeah. NBA used to have some really cool comic book style commercials, and it was like talking about the duos of the league, and this is back with Peyton and Kemp and in those days, but it was so cool. Oof, Tatum from the corner. Celtics up by 4 now.
We do have D'Angelo Russell back in action for the Golden State Warriors here on Wednesday night, playing against the Charlotte Hornets. So it's nice to have D'Angelo Russell back after he was out with his thumb issue there for a few weeks. Right back into the starting lineup for the Warriors. They took Alec Burks out of the starting lineup, ended up starting D'Angelo Russell with Draymond Green, Eric Paschall, Glenn Robinson, and Willie Cauley-Stein. They brought Kevon Looney off the bench.
We're still working on it.
No. I found it out.
I heard it too. You're talking about the interview with Steve Kerr yesterday or the day before where he.
Yep, it's Kevon. It's like Kevin, but it's
on. He said Kevon.
It's not in. It's on Kevon. Yeah. Well, we definitely figured that one out.
Right, and it's not Ke, it's K.
Kevon Looney.
All right, under a minute to go. Tatum's got the ball up top. He's kind of taking his time. They're going to work into the clock here. 10 seconds, though. Now he's going to take the 3. Front rim, no good. Ojeleye tapped the rebound to Walker. Now Jaylen Brown in the corner for 3. Gets it to go. So this is a 10-0 run. No, this is more than a 10-0 run. The Celtics coming back. Jimmy Butler returning. Gets the 3 in. 32.9. All right, now just a 6-point game. He's still hot from last night, man. He's still feeling it.
How much time left?
We got 32.9, but the Celtics are going to let the ball roll until Walker picks it up at half court. Heat will let him. Drives left, picks it up, now into Tice, and he's going to drop in the bucket. So 52-44. 26 seconds. Jimmy Butler, guarded by Tatum. That fun matchup we talked about. This is what the NBA is all about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to work it down here. There's a under was like a 3.5 second difference here between shot clock. So they will have to get a shot off before time expires in the half. Turnaround jumper, no good from Hero. That was partially blocked and definitely rushed at the half. Oh, no good. Celtics threw up a prayer, but it almost went. Jaylen Brown had a shot. He did have the big three, though, that put him up. So now it's 52-44. We got halftime. Celtics up at home by 8. Kyle, we're going to take a quick break here at halftime, or we'll be back in a few minutes if we hope everyone will join us back when the game gets going again.
Yeah, sounds good. Again, are you going to put up like a Word doc?
Yep, I'm going to put up something and share it so that way everyone knows we'll be.
While you're doing that, I can
shortly.
kind of check in on some of the box score lines so far here. Devontae Graham is up to 20 points and 7 assists with 6 3-pointers and 2 steals in just 23 minutes against the Golden State Warriors. There's 5 minutes left in the third on that game. Andre Drummond continuing his defensive dominance with 2 steals, 2 blocks, another 4 assists so far. 8 minutes left in the third quarter of that game, so still a lot of time left there for the Detroit Pistons versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Terry Rozier is also scoring well for the Charlotte Hornets with 21 points, also and 5 assists, which is good to see. We've seen Terry Rozier's assists be down of late after Devontae Graham got inserted into the starting lineup at point guard. Frank Kaminsky continues to play well, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 3-pointers in his 26 minutes, starting with Aaron Baines out again. Another 3 minutes left in the third of that game. Another 20 points for Aaron Gordon for the Orlando Magic against Phoenix. 4 3-pointers, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal in his 25 minutes for Aaron Gordon. And that's about it. Those are the only really standout lines that I'm seeing so far. D'Angelo Russell in his return with 5 minutes left in the third. He's got 18 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 3-pointers. So not the best line from D'Angelo in his return, but also not too bad to be scoring a point a minute. So hard to argue too much with that. Oh, baby, can't you see what it's worth? Heaven is a place on earth.
All right. Thanks to everybody. We'll be back in the second half. Make sure you join us back. Once again, the Heat playing in Boston. We got a close game, an 8-point lead for the Celtics, 52-44. We'll be back shortly.
With the drummer chick.
All right. Kyle, you ready to get back into action?
Baby, come back. You can put it all on me. So, yeah. I ate a banana during the break. The game is back on. Just started back up.
I think next time you do a banana eating, it should be visual for our viewers and our listeners as well.
We can incorporate that, but we're gonna have to talk about it.
Okay. All right. So we're back from halftime. It was 52-44 at half. The Celtics got a bucket here to start things off. So they're up by 10. And not too long ago, Miami had the lead. And a nice little flurry at the end of the first half by the Celtics. All right. So, oh, dang.
This is obviously getting off to a smooth start for the second half. Thank you for anybody who's hanging around. If you do have any comments on the game, if you're watching the game too, like chime in with your thoughts on stuff, or if you have any questions, let us know, whether that's on Twitter, through Periscope, that we're streaming live there. So if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact and you're looking for an easy way to access this in the future, come follow us on Twitter. I'm Roto Kyle NBA. Anthony is at Anthony Denu. So you can come in and find us there. And Anthony just retweeted the stream over there from Periscope that shows up on Twitter. We're looking to eventually get added to Twitch too. So hopefully, if that's another avenue, you can start to look for us there soon. We'll announce that.
Kendrick Nunn, a big three. He was 0 for 9 last night from beyond the arc, so it's good to see him get a 3-point bucket to start the scoring off for the Heat.
Absolutely. I think it's great that he was able to spend time in the seminary and still play professional basketball.
Oh, God. My great aunt lives in a nunnery.
Nice.
Yes, she is also a nun. She's a sister. So Kendrick Nunn, one of the big rookies of the year, really the surprise rookie of the year.
She's a sister Nunn, a sister act. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was not good. I thought there was going to be something there because of, you said sister after the Nunn thing. And that's obviously anybody who's a Whoopi Goldberg fan. Huh?
Right. Yeah. Who isn't these days? I mean, it's almost 2020.
Favorite Whoopi Goldberg movie before we get really into this, Heat Celtics game again, and Miami ends up going on a run to bring it back. Favorite Whoopi Goldberg movie? Do you got one?
Not
even movie. I guess I'll just say role. Favorite
all right,
Whoopi Goldberg role.
I got 3, and one of them's NBA related.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So you got to go Eddie, right?
Okay.
She gets to coach the Knicks, and you get to see players like Rick Fox, and I think John Stalley is in the movie. I mean, there's a number of NBA guys and NBA ties. It's a fun movie.
Is Kelly Oubre the new Rick Fox in regards to just like, movie star handsomeness in an NBA player?
Movie star handsomeness. See, I thought that you said Serge Ibaka was the most handsome current NBA player.
That was years ago, but now Kelly Oubre is on the scene, and he's just got those eyes that look like he's always got makeup on, and when he doesn't, and those cheekbones that just, well, they are what they are.
So, all right. So you think I think that Rick Fox better actor and Kelly Oubre better basketball player than Rick Fox.
Yes. But how do we don't really know how Kelly Oubre is going to be as an actor. And he definitely tries to put on a show with all his push-ups and such on the court of late. So there's a lot of character in Kelly Oubre, I think. And he's also one of the most fashionable cats in the NBA as well. So I think we're going to see a lush career from Kelly Oubre after the NBA.
Are you going to tell me your favorite Whoopi Goldberg role or not?
Oh, Guinan on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Ah, very good. Dang, I should have seen that coming.
She played an alien wizard imp that was kind of like a MacGuffin or a Deus Ex Machina thing, that where they were like, oh, we need somebody to get us out of this impossible situation. Oh, good thing we got the wizard.
All right,
the alien wizard lady.
For anyone who just tuned in, I'm sorry. And but I want to keep going
All
off
right.
this. So Kyle, you get to recast Star Trek Next Generation, but you have to do it with NBA players.
Well, to counter the fact that Whoopi Goldberg doesn't have eyebrows, I would get Anthony Davis on the show.
Just even things out.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But you're looking for other Star Trek characters based on current NBA players?
Sure.
Kevin Durant would be someone with like alien feet. We covered that on the podcast a couple days ago. Joel Embiid would definitely have a role. Dikembe Mutombo. Gosh, I say his name funny sometimes when I'm playing 2K to myself, but it's offensive if I share it in public. I sometimes say Mutombo instead of Mutombo to pretend that I'm just an idiot, which is true. So anyways, Dikembe Mutombo, because he's got that deep, super awesome voice that we'd be able to like use in some kind of fun way. Of course, the most intriguing part about Star Trek: The Next Generation was the fact that it would take societal issues and real life problems and try to display them in a way through the lens of inter-alien relationships and things like that. So that's why it appealed to me. And the fact that Whoopi Goldberg doesn't have eyebrows. Go look it up.
Unreal. Oh.
So Kendrick Nunn, thank you for inspiring the Whoopi Goldberg situation. I think you only said one Whoopi Goldberg movie, though, didn't you?
Yeah, so Ghost and Sister Act 2 were going to be my next two.
Nice. I mean, I can't argue with those. Those are quality Whoopi picks.
Yeah, I think in Sister Act 2, you get Jennifer Love Hewitt. You get Lauryn Hill. Is that right?
Nice. I have no idea. I don't remember Sister Act 2 that well. You really don't need to go be looking up stuff on IMDb.
Yeah, Lauryn Hill confirmed. Jennifer Love Hewitt confirmed. I was on it.
This is thematic again. Kendrick Nunn, Sister Act.
Yeah, that's how we're tying this into basketball right now.
Yes.
Yeah, great aunt.
This is a great segment.
Okay, so the reason why I brought up Kendrick Nunn, though, is being one of the top scoring rookies. The other day, he said that he feels like the rookie of the year. And then last night, he came out and went 0 for 9 from 3-point and was kind of a stinker, but he did hit that 3 earlier. I think they ended up taking it away, though, because the Heat went back down to 44 points. So right now, we got 58-49. Celtics up by 9 at home. Pass outside. Tice for 3. Falls down James Harden style. Way off the mark. Kendrick Nunn handoff to Butler. Butler goes baseline against Semi. And, they're going to call it a charge. It would have been an and one, though.
So it's Shemi. Like Shemi.
That's how you say it?
Like there's an H in there. It's a loud H instead of a silent H.
Like Steve Booth Semi-Ojale?
Yes. Shemi. Like you've got a Hemi, but it's got an SH. It's got an S at the front of it.
Bucket Ninja has joined us again. Good evening,
Yo,
gentlemen.
what up, Bucket Ninja?
All right, Kyle, do we want to go around the league and say what else we got going on? I can tell you that the Bucks are up by 20 over the Pistons, 92-72.
Big surprise there.
Yeah, under 20 seconds to go. I will say the Pistons hung with the Bucks somewhat up until midway through the third quarter, but the Bucks have jumped
the
out.
Pistons didn't have Luke Kennard. He was out for this game, so they started Zvi Mikhailuk. Zvi's fine. He was 2 for 6 from 3-point land so far for 6 points. Played 24 minutes up to this point, but Luke Kennard's been a big part of what the Pistons have done so far this season. So having him miss out and having Blake Griffin struggle with his shot, 4 of 15 from the field, it's going to be hard to find enough ammunition elsewhere on the roster.
Wolfman has Kennards.
Wolfman has Kennards. Did somebody say that in the chat, or you're just referencing Monster Squad?
I'm referencing Monster Squad. You're the person who turned me on to that movie. I first watched it when we lived in their apartment together.
Yep. Anybody who's not familiar with Monster Squad, if you watched the Goonies growing up, as everybody did, a take on it on Goonies with monsters like the 1950s classic movie monsters. It was supposedly a mix of Little Rascals and the 50s movie monsters is what the pitch was when they sold it. But the way it comes out in a movie form is like kind of a Goonies type thing, because the kids are all super hip and the parents don't know nothing and are just clueless, and the kids got to save the town from Dracula and Frankenstein and the creature from the Black Lagoon, which had they got some of the best movie magic people in the industry. Sam Winston, who used to do the different like The Thing, the awesome special effects from The Thing with the way they made the dog look. He did the special effects for a lot of the monsters on Monster Squad. I'm getting the right guy's name right there. But yeah, they did one of the coolest werewolves, Wolfmans in movie history as well. So just really neat little movie, and tons of funny quips and one-liners like Wolfman's got nards, or
Canards, Luke Canards, as it were. The Heat might be, I know it's a game of runs, but after last night's overtime heroics, they might be slowing down a little bit here as Jaylen Brown hits a big three to put the Celtics up by 14, which I believe is the largest deficit of the night. So they're really slowing down here, Kyle, it looks like.
Yeah. But again, it's a game of runs, and the Heat just need to get hot. They've got a lot of shooters, so but they're probably going to need somebody other than Jimmy Butler to be the one to step up. Kelly Olynyk is a kind of guy who it's one game he's on, one game he's off, and he's going to put up either a big line or an empty line. So it's hard to look at him as someone who's going to step up. Maybe it's Duncan Robinson banging in 6 threes like he's shown he's capable of doing. But the fact is they have options of guys who can get hot, and maybe they just don't have the gas, though. Second night of a back-to-back on the road. And that just might be the story of this game, is that Miami came out, tried to assert their will on this game, but ultimately just didn't have the same wick that the Celtics do, having not played the night before.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. Jimmy could heat up, but all right. So Bucket Ninja has a couple comments here, and I'm showing one up right now. We appreciate you as well, Bucket Ninja, for being there with us. Big fan, boys. Glad to support you by catching you live. Any other ways to support the show? Anybody can Venmo me, Kyle McKeown 16. If you want to, buy me a coffee or whatever. I don't know if Anthony has a Venmo. We're going to start advertising different avenues, whether it's Patreon and such, as we get more into a groove with understanding exactly what we're going to provide going forward. We're still kind of testing the waters on things like these watch alongs for certain games. We're considering other options that are similar to this, or whether or not to just kind of lean fully into staying with the morning podcast with the Morning Hoops thematic kind of thing. So we're still finding our way and figuring that out. And it's kind of fun doing the different things. And maybe that'll just end up being what we do, is this kind of menagerie of different options depending on our availability and also what we want to cover for the night. Like tonight was a great night to watch the Heat and Celtics go up. Obviously you wish that some of their guys were healthy and available. So it was more of a game of what you might see coming in, at the end of the season or in the playoffs, but it is what it is, and it's fun to see the guys who are out there have an opportunity to maybe shine a little bit brighter with certain guys out due to injury. Very good stuff. So yeah, it is pretty cool. Like really, since last Wednesday, we've done a different kind of episode for every show. So.
But rating and reviewing and subscribing, and especially on iTunes, I know a lot of people don't use iTunes these days, but if you've got it on a PC or something like that you use, whether it's at work or at home, and you've got an old iTunes sign in and you don't mind going in there, subscribing, so that it just downloads automatically every day, that would help us out. And then putting a review on there, whether you hate us or like us, however you want to write it up, just having that activity on the account is going to help us eventually get on that front page of the sports podcast. And once that happens, that kind of opens the door to a lot more people seeing you because you're on that front page.
So the Celtics have really taken a commanding lead now, up by 16. Tatum and Brown doing it again. So the Celtics really are the team that is waiting for one guy to be the guy, right? Like, we still don't know who it is between Tatum, Brown, now Kemba. I mean, all three of them it is good to have options, and to have young guys averaging 20, like they're all right at 20 points a game. You throw Hayward in there as well when he's healthy.
That's just it. Like, if these guys are playing as well as they're playing now, and then you add Gordon Hayward in healthy, Marcus Smart's, Marcus Smart's out of this game as well. That's their best defender, one of the best defenders in the league. So there's a lot to like about this Celtics team, and the fact that they do fit together well. Guys aren't necessarily worried so much about getting their production from night to night, as long as it comes along with winning, and they still get enough touches. I don't know. I don't like, we've talked about Tatum in regards to, I don't know that his ceiling is actually that superstar level. You do think it's going to go there. I think Jaylen Brown has the ability to continue to develop. And I would say Jaylen Brown's defensive ability is better than Tatum's. And that in the long run may give Jaylen Brown a higher ceiling. It's difficult for me to say that because a lot of time I want to lean into guys who have more size, more length, and that would be Jason Tatum over a guy like Jaylen Brown. But it's a luxury of riches for this team to have multiple options of guys who could become all-star level talents or better going forward, guys who can be, if not the first option, at least the second or third on your team consistently. And that's what it seems like these guys are being. So, I mean, honestly, the Celtics are a team that if they continue to develop and play together, they could certainly be challenging for the finals in the next couple of years, but they're going to have to find some way to stop some of their bigger problems matchup wise once you get to that Eastern Conference Finals. If they match up with the Sixers, good luck. You just don't have the bodies to throw at Al Horford and of course Joel Embiid. And then, I mean, who are you matching up really? I guess you've got the defensive guys to match up with Ben Simmons, but it's going to be tough for the Celtics to have those matchups that they would need at the end of the season. I mean, I guess you can say, hey, they've got Marcus Smart to cover Giannis, but and Marcus Smart's been great at that, so I don't want to discount it, but I think Giannis will figure that one out in the end.
Yeah, I just, until someone really emerges, I think that they're not going to get to the next level. And either Tatum or Brown has to like really be the dominant star. And I think Tatum's that guy. I know he's not as good on defense as Brown, but I think I don't know. I've seen them both hit clutch shots. It's tough, man. But
I mean, I think Kemba can hit those clutch shots.
Oh yeah.
And like,
he's the one who has plays drawn up for him more likely.
And Kemba might get even more, like, I think a lot of people who watch the NBA respect Kemba. Even from his college days, he's been so consistent in what he offers to a team. And at his size, he's pretty good defensively for what he can do, what's in his wheelhouse. This is the best team that Kemba's ever had around him. So maybe we're going to start to really respect him more, maybe hold Kemba up on that same level that we hold guys like Kyrie Irving, and say, even though he doesn't get buckets the same way that Kyrie does, or as impressive of a way as Kyrie does in that one-on-one kind of artistry that Kyrie shoots from all over the court, Kemba's more of a straightforward scorer in a lot of regards. He's going to take it to the rack hard. He's going to make crafty layups. He's going to shoot his 3-pointers with with confidence. But he's not necessarily going to go in and do a whole bunch of the crazy dribble moves that you see Kyrie trying to implement, and all the essentially the post work that Kyrie does with his back to the backs, get fadeaways from all over.
Okay, talking about Kemba Walker, what would you guess his career high in assists was?
13.
I'm sorry, for an average for a season.
Oh, for
his best season average.
6.7, 7.2,
6.1.
Oh wow, that's brutal.
It's quite a bit lower than I would have thought. 5.5 for the career. 5.
But again, who has he played with?
Right. No, and when you're also the shooter and the point guard, those guys just happen to. I mean, look at Steph Curry. He doesn't average a crazy amount of assists typically.
Yeah,
but he also
has spent how many years having to have Michael Kidd-Gilchrist taking jump shots off his passes? Like, come on, man. I don't know. It's hard to.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to be overly critical of Kemba. I think we know he's a good point guard, but you're right. That's a surprising statistic. The fact that his career high in assists for a season, 6.1. Wow, that is that's kind of trash.
That was his third season in the league. They were still the Bobcats. It's not true.
I gave you too much credit, Kemba Walker.
But no, he's still a
worst
great player
ever now.
Get rid of him, dude. Worst number 8 Walker
for
the Celtics ever. 3-pointer no good. Justice Winslow going to take it and try and get to the rack.
How one statistic changed my mind.
That's right.
Clickbait podcasting.
So Bucket Ninja also chimed in with when we were talking about Luke Kennard. I paid $1 million in fantasy for Lucky Luke. Been big for me. Him and Dylan Brooks.
It can't be 1 million, but Luke Kennard's been great, especially in your deeper leagues. But I know, but I mean, maybe it might be a typo. I mean, people make mistakes, and if it's 1 million, must be like some kind of big salary league. Anyways, no, Luke Kennard's definitely exceeded expectations for me this season. I know some other people were talking him up as a big breakout candidate. I just wasn't sure if that was going to come true. The absences of Blake Griffin to start the season definitely helped because Kennard was coming off the bench to open the year, and then the Pistons just realized very quickly, like, with Derrick Rose out, with Blake Griffin out, with Reggie Jackson out, we kind of need somebody to actually score the ball. So maybe we should start Luke Kennard. And they did. And he really has shown how versatile of a scorer he can be, and the fact that he can also facilitate as well. He's had 7 assists and 9 assists in games. So he's had some nice performances this year. Luke Kennard's been great.
Should we take a little trip around the league? The Bucks are up by 21, 103-82 in Detroit. 8 minutes, just under 8 minutes to go in the fourth. The Suns down big to the Magic. Magic up 127-106 at home. There's 142 left to play in Orlando. We got the Celtics up by 10 that we're watching right now. The Nets up by 8 in Atlanta. Under a minute to go in the third. Also in the third, really just got underway in the second half. Pacers down by 1. The Thunder up 50-49 in OKC. The Bulls up 50-35. They're at halftime over the Memphis Grizzlies. And Luka and the Mavericks up 38-27 early in the second quarter. Lakers and Jazz just got underway, an 8-5 early for the Jazz. And Kings and Blazers has yet to start, about 45 minutes before things get rolling here in Portland.
Yeah, 13-point game or 11-point game now for the Celtics and the Heat. Just a couple seconds left in the third quarter. It's I think hopefully we're gonna have a good game here in the fourth. So I'm optimistic that the Heat are gonna be able to put some pressure on the Celtics. The fact that they don't have Marcus Smart, I think, is really opens the door to to the Heat making a comeback, but we'll see if they've got the gas.
And I did say earlier, I want to make a correction. Eric Spoelstra is actually not coaching the team tonight.
No, he's having a kid, or his partner, his wife is having a kid. So it's his second child, I believe.
Very good.
Yes, sir. Congrats to you, Mr. Eric
right.
Spoelstra and Mrs. Eric Spoelstra.
Yes.
Some exciting lines from the night. Production, 33 points from Devontae Graham in 36 minutes against the Golden State Warriors. Finished also, okay, I just need to say his whole line here without stumbling over it. 33 points, 10 3-pointers, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals. He's definitely in the competition for the most improved player award this season. That'll be fun to see how much consideration he gets being in such a small market, and the fact that you've got other great options to consider for the award right now. Aaron Gordon, 32 points, 5 3-pointers, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. A lot of people like to talk trash about Aaron Gordon. I think that's rubbish. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks in his 26 minutes. Guessing he's probably not going to have to get back into that game. Another 8 minutes left in that matchup against the Pistons. Oh, those are the biggest lines from what I'm seeing so far. The most exciting ones. Yeah, good on you, Mr. Aaron Gordon.
Do you want to guess his career high in assists?
Aaron Gordon's career high in assists? You mean per season?
Yeah.
Oh, 4.3? Was it like 3.8?
Gosh.
Why is that hard for you to figure out?
Because I don't know. I had a really rough answer for that. I'm glad I held off. But 3.7 last year.
Okay. Yep.
That's higher than I would have guessed, but I know he has the potential to do almost anything on a basketball court.
Yep. Nope. Aaron Gordon isn't exceptional at any one thing, but on a given night, he can show off the ability to do all things.
God, this is his 6th year in the NBA. Wow, I wouldn't have guessed.
Yep.
All right, so the Celtics are up by 7 right now. We got Winslow at the free throw line. He hit the first of 2. Chance to get it to a 6-point game with 2:10 to play in the third quarter.
So with
anytime you got a bunch of left-handed guys.
Hey man, I've told you I want to do an all lefty show where all we do is talk about all the lefties in the league. Just go through all
Winslow,
of them.
Nunn, Harden.
I don't pay close enough attention. I love that you're able to just start listing them off your top of your dome.
I'm trying to think of a Pacers player. I thought one of the big Pacers, or one of the Pacers, some Sabonis or Turner, but
For that Lakers and Utah game, Mike Conley's out with his hamstring issue, but the team decided to start Joe Ingles at point guard, and then they brought Royce O'Neal off the bench and started Jeff Green at power forward. I don't think that that's a permanent move. I think that's a reflection of playing against Anthony Davis at power forward, bringing Jeff Green in there. He's just got a little bit more size to be able to try to match up.
Yep, that totally makes sense. And when LeBron's basically playing point guard, that's why wouldn't you have Ingles out there?
KP just burned Towns in a post up. So it's not always a bad play. Twitter analyst guys.
What are you talking about?
I'm also
Mavericks?
watching the Timberwolves and Mavericks game.
Oh, you're dual screened?
Oh man, the Celtics game right now, there's a bunch of people dancing on the big screen, and they got this guy with a really bad mustache, and yeah, he looks greasy. I like it.
Delicious.
More like greasy, like Trailer Park Boys greasy.
Not so good.
Oh man, there's nothing better than the fan cam stuff that they put on when you're watching League Pass. That's I don't think anything makes me laugh harder than the fan cam stuff. People dancing, the kiss cam.
Yeah.
It's just beautifully awkward. And then just how pumped people get when they see themselves on video too. It's it's infectious. The energy that they show.
I have developed the opinion that when kids get on the big screen, that it's actually a nervous reaction to do the floss, because that's all they do. Anytime they get on, it's like they can't control.
That's what that dance move is called?
Yeah.
That's
Are you not familiar with this?
Yeah. No, I am well aware that every single kid does that dance.
Yeah.
And like even me, I've tried to do the dance at times, but I don't really get how to do it because I've never tried it. I just always see it, and now it's like it's crazy how much of a phenomenon that is, and that's all it's just from Fortnite, isn't it?
Sure. Yeah, you might be right.
I think it was one of the dance moves from Fortnite, and one of your emotes that you can do, and that's where I think it kind of caught on, and then it became a meme, and now it's just everywhere. So I'm sure people get influenced from cartoons and all sorts of different stuff.
30 seconds to go in the third quarter. Butler kicks it out for Winslow for three at the top of the key. No good. Bam kicks it, though, to Hero. Hero gets it to Butler. Butler drives baseline. Now back out. Olynyk, long three. Are they going to say that Jimmy stepped out of bounds on the baseline? Yeah. I think that was the call. So the Celtics will get it. 20.6 left to go in the third quarter.
Oh, you need to catch up, bro.
Am I behind?
Oh yeah, I'm in the fourth already.
On the Celtics game?
Yeah. You need to catch up.
Carson
Edwards just took it to the rack and ended up getting fouled by Chris Silva. So some names that people aren't familiar with because they are both rookies and they don't play a lot.
All right, yeah. Kemba takes the three. I got 11 minutes left right now. Now 10:59, 58. Okay. All right, we're good. Well, cool. I was going to tinkle, actually, at the end of the third quarter. I was going to head to Tinkletown.
Sorry, man. You are never going to get to use the bathroom.
Looks like I'm strapped in. So a 15-point lead, man. Yeah, the Heat really have slowed down. It's nothing too crazy. A couple threes, you're right back in it. But now it's, 17 points.
Dang
nabbit.
Dang pile.
What games do we got coming up tomorrow? Tomorrow's a Thursday night, so it's going to be a couple of national TV games.
For this Memphis, I'll get right into that. For the Memphis at Chicago game, Memphis was down at the half by, it's the start of the third quarter right now. They're down 15. To open the third quarter, Memphis brought Tyus Jones off the bench and started DeAnthony Melton. So that's an interesting little nugget there. And if there's any fantasy people playing fantasy, you're probably going to want to go grab DeAnthony Melton as a stream option to throw into possibly 10-team lineups. If you've got somebody to drop, I would probably take a flyer on DeAnthony Melton right now in 10-teamers, 12-teamers, to just stream him until Ja Morant gets back, because he's been playing well in a limited role off the bench. And if the Grizzlies are going to look at starting him over Tyus Jones, at least while Ja Morant's back, then the streaming option could be pretty good there for DeAnthony Melton.
He could play well enough to give himself a bigger role.
Yeah, but ultimately he'll end up settling into something like the backup shooting guard role. Maybe they decide that they don't need Dylan Brooks's potential scoring, and they'd rather have a better defensive option in there. Maybe in the time that we've seen with Valanciunas missing the last couple games with an illness, now he's back this game, but with Brandon Clark being out, and Ja Morant being out, we've seen Jaren Jackson get a heavier get more touches in the offense. And if that's something that they want to help facilitate going forward, maybe taking Dylan Brooks out of the starting lineup, putting in a guy like Anthony Melton, who's a lower usage guy, more of a pass first than a score first type of guard or wing player. I think that might be an option that we see unfurl, but who knows? It's tough to, well, it is a new regime in the front office for the Grizzlies. So maybe Dylan Brooks isn't looked at as like the lock at shooting guard that some people might think he is.
I'm not in love with him yet.
I think Dylan Brooks is a rotation player in the NBA, and he could be a good scorer off the bench for a decent scorer off the bench for a good team. But I don't know if Dylan Brooks will ever be much more than that. He's got good size for being a guard, but like, I don't think that he's ever going to have dominant defense. I think he's going to try hard. I think he's going to try to execute the team's plans and be a good teammate. I just don't know if the complete package is there to have Dylan Brooks be someone who you want on the court for 32 minutes a night if you're trying to be a playoff team. I just don't know if he's that guy. He might prove me wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his ceiling is, but maybe rotational player. We'll see. And
I just feel like I might be overly critical of Dylan Brooks' spot in the rotation and the minutes that he gets right now, because I'm just anxious to see more of a guy like Anthony Melton, who we've seen kind of buried in rotations the last couple of seasons. I want to see more Grayson Allen after we didn't really get to watch him in the NBA much last year. And it would be like, I still think there's a higher ceiling for Josh Jackson talent-wise than Dylan Brooks. So if Josh Jackson can actually kind of build the right habits mindset-wise down in the G League and then come up to the Grizzlies later this season and show that he's kind of a refurbished player for the NBA, that's something I would like to see. I don't necessarily think it'll come out that way, but it's something I'm more excited to potentially see than a lot of Dylan Brooks this year. I feel like we know what Dylan Brooks is.
91-75, Celtics up 16. You think the Heat got it in them, Kyle? How much of the Heat going to lose?
No, man, you know what? We want to paint a rosy picture because positivity is that's what sells people to stick around a lot of the time. But if we're being honest, it's going to be tough for the Heat to come back, with it being the second night of a back-to-back, being on the road. So there's travel involved, which means just naturally less opportunity to sleep or less time available to be by yourself, which means probably more time you need to wind down if you're if you're one of those people that's got an active mind. And that's all part of the game in regards to why it's more difficult to win on the road. Is the accumulation of all these little things in regards to having less time to really rest. You're just constantly on the go when traveling and such, and going from place to place. So,
international TSA, man, it's a pain in the neck.
Well,
Jimmy Butler hits a three though, man.
A lot of these guys.
And remember what the Spurs did last night. You just never know.
One of my brothers works in the hotel industry, and he would often tell me how NBA guys that would come into like Charlotte and whatnot, they would all have their PS4s that would need to be set up for them before they got there and whatnot. So it's just
people
kind of interesting
for them.
Well, wow. They would have the staff, the utility staff, or the people who go into the rooms to fix things, like set up any technology that needed to be set up or whatever.
That's so great.
I think what it was is sometimes what my brother said is some players would sometimes, like, you'd get a call in and they'd be like, "Hey, can you set this up for me?" And who knows, maybe it's just because they weren't familiar with the TV setup or whatever, who knows? Whatever.
Yeah. That's the way it is for wrestlers too.
Yeah.
It's video games like all throughout the hotels. Like,
Hey, dude, people get paid to do all kinds of jobs. So if somebody wanted me to hook up their video game system and that was my job, I am there for it. As long as you're paying me and you've got health care.
Sign me up.
Yeah. No. Nope. If I was rich enough, I'd pay someone to follow me around like I follow around my dog.
My dog is right next to me too, and I feel you.
Oh yeah. That's all. I mean, if I'm gonna just not have it be a mental thing for me to constantly bend down and pick up someone's poop, then if I'm paying well enough,
I mean, right now you're doing it for nothing. You're doing it just because he's your dog.
I'm a job creator in this economy. I should be revered.
Well, a number of you just joining us. The Bucks game just finished. The Bucks have taken down the Pistons. We are watching the Heat and the Celtics. The Heat coming off a back-to-back. They won, the first team to win in Toronto. They won last night. They're also the first and only team to win in Milwaukee. So a chance for the Heat if they can come back here down by 15. Bam Adebayo at the free throw line. If they can come back here against Boston, they will be the only teams to win. The only team to win in Boston, Toronto, and in Milwaukee. No one else has won in any of those three places yet this season.
That's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive little feather in the Heat's cap. But it doesn't look like they'll be getting that job done tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be tough coming off a back-to-back. A lot of energy expended, especially from their top star, Jimmy Butler, who was unbelievable in overtime, had that 8-0 run to start overtime, and outscored the Raptors by himself 8-2 in overtime. And but here we are tonight. New game, new story. Celtics got the lead up by 15. I think the highest it's been is 17. And now it's pumped back up to 17. So you said it's not looking good.
No, I mean, maybe something that we can look forward to is getting a longer look at Robert Williams, getting a longer look at Carson Edwards, maybe Grant Williams, Williams and Williams at law. That'll be that's a front court to watch. That could be the starting front court of the Celtics' future. But it's always fun to sit and think about a lot of that stuff, like who's going to be the starting front court of our future. And if you're a lot of times we're just looking at the bench and extrapolating like, oh, eventually these guys will move into these bigger jobs, but
rarely does that actually happen.
Yeah. It's usually a trade or a signing or what have you.
So all right, if you had to bet on it, are the Celtics going to make a move before the deadline?
I don't think so. I think they've gotten off to such a good start that unless they have an obvious move to add bench depth, to add it's different if they can look at like Andre Drummond and they say, okay, we can give up something for a rental on Drummond, and the Pistons would have to be out of the playoff contention at this point, essentially, or believe themselves to be out of it. So I think there are certain situations that could open up where the Celtics would be definitely willing to make a move. Danny Ainge is not afraid to mix things up for the right opportunity and to try to play for a higher ceiling or to get a star. And it really just depends on how they would view certain guys who might be available. But a lot of who would be available is so contingent on records as we kind of pass into the new year.
Jaylen Brown with 28 points on the night, then comes back with a big steal. So 97-79, 5:52 to play. And still not looking good for the Heat.
No, I think we're well. So here's one thing that I have at issue with the NBA is that a lot of times when we do have these games where you're just going to end up watching the end of the bench guys. Well, you know what? Then have people who are more informed about these guys and who can really get into the detailed stuff about Carson Edwards, or just have a have a more positive perspective. As much as I was earlier saying, like, it's going to be hard to be positive about this from the game being competitive aspect. Like, there's still plenty of things to talk about in regards to players' development or what we should be looking for. Maybe even just go more in depth into regards to the different sets that we're seeing with plays out there on the court. Like, there's got to be different stuff to focus on that's going to engage the fans, instead of just sitting and decrying the fact that the one team's not competitive on this night, when ultimately we've been talking about it all game. We kind of knew it was going to be tough for the Heat to compete on the second night of the back-to-back on the road. We just gave ourselves a little bit of hope due to the fact that the Celtics are dealing with injury issues that may have opened the door to more of a competitive game. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff to be excited about, almost regardless of who's on the court, because another thing that we've talked about on the podcast before is the fact that the NBA has a wealth of personalities. Looking out there and seeing a guy like Duncan Robinson, who's shined already this season, the fact that he's been getting so much blow tonight, it's just continues to kind of build up this idea that the NBA has so many diamonds in the rough that can be found on a given night if offered the opportunity for more minutes and more shots. And it's also fun if you play 2K, a video game that is in many ways so much of a simulation in regard to how the players play in the league. Sometimes it's almost obnoxious how much the game is animated, but it's also beautiful because you're sitting there playing with a particular player who you watch every night, and you're like, oh my gosh, when I do the moves that this guy does, I hit the same shots that they hit, even though it's amazing off balance, difficult shots from guys like a Jimmy Butler or a Kemba Walker. So, and then you get into the depths of that game as well, and they have so many of the mannerisms for each player down. They have some of the memes that you see on Twitter, whether it's the classic Bradley Beal pose from last season with his hands on his hips and being like, "What? Why are you talking smack?" Like they've got that in the game for certain situations. So I don't really know where I was going with all that, but I think I love how distinct all of these different players are in regards to their potential character or narratives in the NBA. And I think that's one of the reasons why it appeals to me so much, is because I feel like every player kind of has their own character arc that we get to follow.
Carson Edwards is a interesting story. He's kind of got a Spud Webb thing going on right now. He's got the short shorts. He wears number 4. He's listed at 6 feet, which I don't know if I'm buying. Maybe close. But he went to Purdue, so those of you who are Big Ten basketball fans, you've seen him the last few years. So he was an early second-round pick for the Celtics. But what has been his role so far?
I mean, he's pretty much a scorer off the bench for these guys. Tries to set things up a little bit, but he mostly comes in and tries to get some buckets. And on some nights, that's been great. I think we saw him score 30 or more at one point in the preseason. But it's fun that Carson Edwards already been as big of a part of the rotation or has gotten as many looks in the rotation as he has this season. But ultimately, if the team was healthy, you would like for Edwards to be in a much more limited role at this point. Although, again, it's great to get him these looks. The fact that he's out there on the court playing with Jimmy Butler and a lot of these other guys who he's probably been looking up to over the last few years, it gets you out of that shell shock stuff too, where you start to finally feel like you're part of the league, that you belong there, that you should have the confidence to play the game you've always played, to play the game that got you there. So it's another reason why it's dumb that Michael Porter Jr. is not playing more minutes for the Denver Nuggets. It's got to be on every podcast until it happens.
Play your young players. That's what fans want to see, right?
Play the guys who are going to be part of what you're building. And a lot of what the Nuggets are doing this season. It's winning games, but it's not necessarily going to be what leads to them potentially challenging for a championship at some point. So I think it's the first half of like every single season, Michael Malone comes out and he's got just all these dumb notions about how he's going to change stuff and do things differently and run the offense through different players because he wants to diversify things or make the team better in like a microscopic way. And then sometime in December, like a month and a half to 2 months into the season, every single year, the last few seasons, we've seen the team then go back to what they know works for them all the time, which is more Jokic, less of everybody else. And I think some of the successes that the Nuggets had off the bench from Monte Morris, from Malik Beasley, from Torrey Craig and Juancho Hernan-Gomez last season, it made, and then as good as Mason Plumlee's played off the bench for them as their backup center, it's made them feel like they have to continue to play a lot of these guys or continue to keep a lot of these guys in the mix. And it's like, no, you don't. You really don't have to play Monte Morris. You don't have to play Malik Beasley every game. You don't have to play Torrey Craig or Juancho Hernan-Gomez, even though I do like him more than a lot of these guys. You don't. Your team should be focused around the core 6 or 7 guys who are going to be part of your main rotation in the playoffs. And if you, from my opinion, you're not getting to that apex of challenging for the NBA championship unless a guy like Michael Porter Jr. either becomes what he's supposed to become, or you use him to trade for someone who's going to be what you hope he would become. So either way, you have to show Michael Porter Jr. is healthy. You also, just because he is healthy right now, why aren't you getting him time in there playing with your guys? Why aren't you getting him developmental time? If you're going to be winning most of your games anyways, if you're going to be challenging for the play, or you're going to be in the playoffs anyways because you're just that good of a team, why not get this rookie into your starting lineup, get him looks against other teams' best players so he learns what it means to be in the NBA, so that then maybe after he gets a look, you can say, hey, look, he's struggling too much, but at least he knows now. And then we can go to him, we can say, do you see what it means now? Do you know now? Do you see exactly how in shape you need to be? Although you look at a guy like Michael Porter Jr. and how athletic he is and how smooth he moves on the court, and you're just like, no, he's athletic, he's in shape, he can play, and you're the only real problem you have is him staying healthy. So now imagine if we go through half this season of Michael Porter Jr. not playing, and then he gets injured in practice, and then you don't have him for a whole second season, and then where are you at with him? And that's where I feel like that's what I'm not even trying to build like a doom and gloom narrative for them. I'm just trying to draw a realistic narrative to say, like, you're missing out on an opportunity and you're just continuing to play these guys who you already know what they are and you already know what they offer, and they don't offer a higher ceiling for your team than where you're at right now. And that frustrates me. And, you can always stop me when I get on one of these.
Oh, no, this one I had to let you go there, brother.
Thanks, man.
Get in there, brother. It looks like it felt good. It looks like it felt good.
It was just knotted up in my chest, and
yeah, you
really
get
got
that out.
untie it.
I'm glad. I think we all feel more comfortable now. Back to the Heat and the Celtics, though. 104-87. Celtics up big at home. Jimmy Butler, 35 points in 35 minutes. He is 12 of 16, 6 of 8 from beyond the arc, and really did not slow down at all after last night's spectacular overtime performance. And the next closest player, though, after Jimmy Butler, is 10 points. 3 players have 10, 2 players have 8, and that's really about it. And then a couple guys have 3.
Yep, Justice Winslow with 10 off the bench, Kelly Olynyk with 10 off the bench, Duncan Robinson with 10 in the starting lineup. He played 25 minutes so far. Also had 3 steals and 5 rebounds for Duncan Robinson. So it's nice to see him contributing outside of just 3-pointers which is really the one thing that you can count on from him every night. Grant Williams, in his spot start, did not attempt a single field goal attempt or shot, but did get 2 for 2 from the free throw line so far. That's pretty disappointing from Grant Williams. Four personal fouls, though, limiting him to just 14 minutes of action at this point. Yeah, kind of a disappointment there.
Yeah, he might. I'm trying to see. No, he's not in the game right now. So I was going to say maybe he'll finish things off, but
one of the thing is about Grant Williams, though, too, as you see from 0 shot attempts in 14 minutes, he sometimes tries to be too good of a team player, and that's an issue. You know, you don't want to become the next Patrick Patterson where you just pass up every single shot that comes your way. So, Kemba Walker, 25 points. Jaylen Brown, 31 in his 33 minutes, 5 of 9 from 3-point land, 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 10 of 20 overall. Great game from Jaylen Brown. Daniel Tice, 8 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 1 steal. Just contributes a little bit everywhere. Doesn't necessarily put up gaudy production in any spot. The 3 blocks is wonderful, though. Jason Tatum with 3 blocks, and Tatum has done a better job with some of the defensive production this year, so that's been nice to see. Just 2 of 12 from 3-point land for Tatum so far. So as we have just 2 minutes left here to finish up, I don't know, anything else you kind of seeing before we kind of walk away from this game, really?
Not much. I mean, it was a fun first half. It was a little sloppy, but it was close enough. Maybe it wasn't that fun, but I guess we had higher expectations for the second half. But still, always good to get together, talk about the NBA, watch a game regardless of outcome. And we knew it would be tough for the Heat. Still a chance to see Jimmy put up 40 here, but unlikely as time.
Why are down. 4 of the Heat starters still out on the court with less than 2 minutes left in a 20-point game?
Yeah, if somebody got hurt here, you would feel pretty.
I mean, for fantasy basketball purposes, you're like, heck yeah, let's do that all the time. But we also have to remember that the Heat's coach is not there tonight, so this might have been a situation where their assistant coach getting an opportunity to be the head coach for the first time in the record books, or actually, I think they still go under Spoelstra. But getting his first opportunity to coach is probably like, I'm not taking any chances. I want to get a win. So, oh wait, I don't know why I said that. They lost. So that was just like the dumbest argument ever made.
I'm not sure why he's got these guys in, but now Butler's at the free throw line, so you never know.
Yeah.
40 points still in play.
Wait a minute. Yeah, wait. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. These guys are the Heat are
like around like the around like the 3 minute mark. They should have just pulled the plug, unless they were gonna start doing something drastic like fouling a bunch, and they didn't really. All right, I don't know why I was reversed on everything. You don't listen to me when I talk, do you?
No, I do. Most of the time I do, but sometimes I do. Like I just, he knows and what he's talking about, and I don't need to jump in.
That can never be assumed.
Okay, I'll stop assuming that, and then sometimes I do try and jump in, and you're like going so hard that you don't notice.
and that's fine too.
So I mean, there you have it.
Because I'm not looking at the video screen of you. I'm usually skipping around different tabs trying to find stuff to talk about.
Doing that right now.
The last thing I want to look at is your face.
Yeah, you're a total sweetheart. Go to sleep, snitch.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're about to wrap things up. We got a minute left, but it looks like the Heat are not going to be able to pull it out here.
No.
We have 4 games tomorrow night. It's the Sixers and the Wizards. Then you got the Nuggets and Knicks. Rockets and Raptors, that'll be a fun one, and then Suns and Pelicans to round things out. So this is kind of a weird. Typically Thursday is a big, national TV night. That's not the case tomorrow. I think there's one game on NBA TV, but all these games start within an hour of each other. So it is an early night for the NBA, with mostly East Coast games, and then the game in all East Coast games basically.
Yep. So we'll figure out what we're going to do tomorrow. Maybe we'll do something where we're watching along with one of these games. or maybe we'll end up just doing a podcast afterwards. But thank you so much to everybody who tuned in, whether you clicked on us on Twitter or subscribed on YouTube. Please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast wherever it is that you listen to it. If you've got an old iTunes account and you just don't mind taking a minute or two to logging in and writing up a quick review saying like, yo, I like listening to this. You can put as many stars as you want, or if you're a true blue hater and you want to go hate, go hate. Although if you listen to this deep and you're a hater, then
wow. You're the problem. Then you are the problem.
I don't know. That's epic, man. You need to relax though too. Maybe start meditating and definitely grow your hair out.
Some CBD too.
Oh, I mean, I'm a big believer in CBD's ability to help alleviate anxiety. I know some people use it to help them sleep at night. I've never used it for that capacity, or I wouldn't see how it would help me in that way.
Well, we do appreciate everyone tuning in, whether it be listening to the podcast or checking us out live on Twitter and on YouTube. Like Kyle said, like it, subscribe it, and give us some feedback. We'd love to hear from you, positive or negative. We appreciate it. I'm Anthony Denu. You can find me on Twitter at Anthony Denu. He is Kyle McKeown. You can find him on Twitter at RotoKyle NBA.
Somewhere back in no long ago.
Very good. All right, folks. Have a wonderful evening, day, morning, night. The Morning Hoops podcast is over. We'll see you tomorrow.
Used to be creative.